What if I told you that every word you've ever spoken has been quietly programming your reality? What if the reason your life looks the way it does right now isn't because of what happened to you, but because of what you've been declaring about yourself in the silence? You were never meant to beg the universe for scraps. You were never meant to whisper affirmations like prayers to a distant god. You were born with the same creative force that carved galaxies into existence. The same voice that once declared, "Let there be light," now speaks through you. But here's what they don't want you to know. You've been using this power backwards. You've been declaring your limitations instead of your liberation. You've been commanding your fears instead of your freedom. And the universe, being the perfect mirror it is, has been faithfully delivering exactly what you've been ordering. Every time you say "I am," you are not describing your life. You are directing it. This is not positive thinking. This is positional identity. This is about stepping back into the authorship you abandoned the day you started believing other people's stories about who you were supposed to be. Before the world was shaped by hands, it was shaped by voice. Before creation took form, a declaration was made, "Let there be." And there was. In the beginning was the Word, not a sound, but a force. Not a phrase, but a frequency, a vibration so pure that it carved galaxies into the void. And that same creative force now lives within you. Every time you say "I am," you are instructing your cells, your brain, your spirit, and the quantum field around you to shape themselves into the image of your words. This is the power that moved mountains in Scripture, the principle behind miracles, the voice that made worlds and still does. I need you to understand something that will shatter everything you think you know about creating change in your life. There is a moment before creation, a pause before the visible. And in that pause, a voice rises, not from your throat, but from your identity. From a knowing so deep it needs no proof, no permission, no validation from the outside world. It simply declares, "This is who I am." And reality has no choice but to respond. You think you were born into stillness. You were born into sound, heartbeat, cry, breath, word. Creation doesn't begin with effort. It begins with frequency, with the courage to speak your truth before the world agrees with it. Every reality begins with a word. In Genesis, the Creator doesn't build with hands. He says, "Let there be," and light obeys. Physics now tells us the same truth. All matter arises from energy, and energy responds to observation and vibration. So when you say "I am ready," "I am whole," it is done. You're not hoping. You're instructing. You're not becoming. You're revealing. Here's the science they don't teach you in school. Your brain is not a passive organ waiting for life to happen to it. It is an architect, constantly building your reality according to the blueprints you give it through your words. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. Your brain wires itself according to repeated thoughts, declarations, and beliefs. Every time you say "I am," you lay down a new layer of identity in your nervous system. Say "I am overwhelmed," and the stress circuits deepen. Say "I am learning," and curiosity pathways awaken. Say "I am capable," and your prefrontal cortex begins mapping new behavior. The body doesn't wait for proof. It responds to instruction. In 2014, stroke patients who repeated empowering identity statements like "I am healing," "I am getting stronger," showed faster neurological recovery than those who simply focused on physical tasks. Their inner language restructured their outer healing. Not because the words had magic, because identity shapes biology. But here's where most people get it wrong. You've been declaring all your life. Every day you're already saying, "I'm tired, I never figure things out. This always happens to me." And your subconscious takes it literally. It doesn't question, it doesn't analyze. It simply says, "Got it. You are that. I'll make sure reality reflects it." So the loop begins. A phrase becomes a feeling becomes a filter becomes a world. You think you're describing life, but you're actually designing it. They told you to work harder, hustle, grind, prove yourself worthy. But what they never told you is that reality doesn't respond to effort. It responds to identity in motion. You are not here to earn your future. You are here to declare it. And there is an ancient law backing that declaration, one that operates whether you know it or not. Neville Goddard called it the law of assumption. Modern science calls it neuroplasticity. The mystics called it divine law. But you already know it intuitively. You feel it in your bones when you speak from truth. You feel it when you say I can, and something stirs. You feel it when you say I am, and the universe leans in to respond. What does this mean in the language of modern mind and matter? It means that what you believe to be true about yourself begins to train your nervous system, your perception, and your body to mirror that identity. Your reticular activating system, the brain's filter for attention, looks for proof of your inner assumptions. Say I am unlucky, and the RAS finds every reason to agree. Say I am favored, and the field begins to echo that frequency. You're not observing reality. You're filtering it according to your declarations. A young girl in a disadvantaged school system struggled for years until one teacher told her, "You're a genius. You just haven't been taught like one." That simple declaration, spoken daily, "I am a genius. I just learned differently," rewired her identity. Her test scores improved. But more than that, her self-perception shifted. Today she's an educator herself, helping other kids do the same. What changed? Her belief, her biology, her future, all from a new I am. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You've been performing, not aligning. You repeat, "I am confident," while your voice shakes with doubt. You say, "I am abundant," while your body tenses with fear. The subconscious doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your vibration, to coherence, not cleverness. That's why declarations without feeling are flat. But declarations fused with elevated emotion trigger neurochemical cascades that literally alter your biology. Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it this way: when thought and feeling become one, you move from hope into reality creation. When you declare "I am abundant" and actually feel abundant, you release dopamine, the motivational neurotransmitter. When you say "I am at peace" from genuine stillness, you stimulate oxytocin, calming your nervous system. You're not just affirming, you're literally changing the chemical signature of your state. This is why your life changes not when you do more, but when you speak from who you've become. The universe doesn't need convincing. You don't have to argue with the field. You only have to declare clearly from the inside out. I am already what I seek. I am walking as the version who has it. It is done, not because I forced it, but because I aligned with it. Your voice is not small. It is not mere sound. It is structure. What you speak into the unseen becomes architecture, a scaffold of possibility that the physical world begins to build around. Words are not just air. They are instruction. Each time you speak with conviction, you emit a frequency, and frequency, as both mystics and physicists know, shapes matter. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, is more than scripture. It's science written in sacred language, because in the beginning of any reality, a business, a relationship, a healing, there is always a word, not just spoken aloud, but whispered internally with enough belief to command the field. The quantum field doesn't hear English. It hears coherence. It doesn't wait for results. It responds to vibration. In 1967, Swiss scientist Hans Jenny conducted experiments that stunned the scientific world. Using sound vibrations directed at sand, he watched invisible tones create intricate geometric patterns. The higher the coherence of the tone, the more beautiful and complex the pattern. You are no different. Your internal tone, the energy behind your words, determines what kind of pattern your life forms. Anger scrambles the geometry. Worry distorts it. But declaration spoken from stillness, from power, creates sacred symmetry in your field. Dr. Candace Pert, neuroscientist and pharmacologist, discovered what she called the molecules of emotion. She found that peptides, chemical messengers, triggered by thought and speech, bind to receptors on every cell in your body. In simple terms, what you say, your body hears. Every I am becomes a signal that instructs your biology. Say I am overwhelmed, and cortisol floods your system. say I am grounded, and parasympathetic signals begin to calm your heart rate. This is not symbolic. This is biochemical manifestation. You are not just thinking. You are programming. You are not just talking. You are transmitting. In quantum physics, particles exist in a cloud of probabilities until observed. This is called the wave function. It means that at every moment, infinite versions of your life exist, each one waiting to be selected. So what selects it? Conscious observation fused with intention. When you say, I am this, you collapse potential into particular. You shift from all that could be into, this is what I've chosen. Your words are the selector switch in a field of infinite outcomes. Consider Anita Moorjani, diagnosed with end-stage lymphoma, tumors throughout her body, organs shutting down. Doctors declared the end, but she declared something else, not with logic, but with identity. I am not here to die. I am here to live. She entered a near-death experience where she felt herself as wholeness, not illness. Upon returning, her body began healing rapidly. Within weeks of this declaration, backed by complete inner alignment, her scans shocked her doctors. No trace of cancer remained. Skeptics call it impossible, but her declaration, backed by full coherence of mind, emotion, and soul, became her reality. What you declare, you animate. Declare I am love, and your nervous system begins to soften. Your energy field becomes magnetic. Declare I am abundance, and your perception starts scanning for opportunity. Synchronicity sharpens. Declare I am peace, and the chaos around you starts to lose its grip. You are not waiting for reality to show up so you can name it. You are naming it so it shows up. This is how you shape matter. This is how you bend time, not with effort, but with energetic authorship. Here's where most people fail. They speak powerfully, then walk timidly. They declare abundance and act from fear. They affirm love but move from wounds. The field grows confused. The signal splits. Nothing changes. Declaration is the first step. Embodiment is the second. It is not enough to declare. You must become what you've spoken. Words are seeds, powerful. Yes, but a seed does nothing unless it is watered, nurtured, lived. To become the word you speak is to make your identity louder than your past, louder than your habits, louder than your habits, louder than your history. In psychology, there's a simple truth. You will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. This is called self-concept congruence. It means your behavior, whether successful or self-sabotaging, mirrors your internal identity more than your external intention. You can want change. You can declare change. But until you become the person who lives in that new world, the old self pulls you back. This is not resistance. It's programming, and it can be rewritten. Research on addiction recovery found a striking difference. When offered a cigarette, those who said, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit," had high relapse rates. But those who said, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker," who shifted identity, not just behavior, rarely relapsed. They weren't performing willpower. They were embodying a new version of themselves, because the subconscious doesn't sustain what isn't aligned. Here's where most manifestation practices stop. I am successful. I am loved. I am confident. Beautiful words. But what do your feet say? What does your posture declare? How do your choices speak? Embodiment is not performance. It's not pretending to be something you're not. It's allowing yourself to live as the version you've already declared. Each morning, ask yourself, if I truly believed my declaration, how would I move today? How would I walk if I believed I was magnetic? How would I respond to conflict if I knew I was already safe? What would I say yes or no to if I knew I was already supported? This isn't acting. This is returning to a truer self hidden beneath conditioning. Every action that matches your new identity strengthens neural pathways. This is Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. Declare I am confident and speak up in the meeting. Your brain logs that as proof. Do it again and the network deepens. Do it daily and it becomes your default. Soon the old identity begins to dissolve. Not through force but through starvation. You've stopped feeding it. Your brain is equipped with mirror neurons, cells that fire both when you act and when you imagine yourself acting. This means when you visualize yourself walking as the new version, your brain responds as if it's already happening. So when you say, I am abundant, and close your eyes to feel the reality of that abundance, you are not fantasizing. You are training your neurology. The body begins to behave like abundance is real, and then reality follows suit. In a longitudinal study on goal setting, participants were asked to write down their ideal future selves. One group wrote once. The other group lived as that version daily, walking, dressing, making choices like their future self already existed. 12 months later, the second group had significantly higher measurable success in income, health, and happiness. Why? Because they weren't trying to get there. They were being there. Your body doesn't care if it's memory or imagination. It becomes whatever you rehearse with feeling. There is a space between the word and the world. It's where most people lose the miracle. You said it, you meant it, you felt it. I am healed, I am abundant, I am ready, and then nothing, no signs, no evidence, just silence. This is the space where dreams die, not because the law failed, but because the voice wavered. But the gap is not punishment. This is not delay, but integration, because every declaration is a seed, and every seed, no matter how divine, needs time to take root. In every mystical tradition, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Buddhism, there is reverence for the void, that sacred in between, the formless, the field before the form. Creation is not instant. It is gestational. The same applies to your spoken reality. When you say I am, you activate the field. But when you wait in stillness, you allow that field to organize itself around your identity. In neuroscience, change isn't visible the moment it begins. Neural rewiring often happens below conscious awareness. In one UCLA study on habit change, participants showed increased neural activity weeks before they felt their behavior shift. They hadn't noticed anything working, but deep beneath the surface, their brain had already begun its transformation. This is the unseen miracle. Silence does not mean absence. Stillness does not mean stuck. It means integration is underway. The moment doubt creeps in, panic sets in. They redeclare from fear. They push. They try to fix what's already in motion. But this tells the subconscious, I don't believe what I just said. We are not safe to receive. The identity resets. The timeline shifts. The process pauses. Not because it failed, but because you interrupted the signal. Trust is not just spiritual. It's neurological regulation. When you trust your declaration, your nervous system relaxes. Cortisol drops. The parasympathetic system activates, signaling safety. In this state, you become more receptive, more intuitive, more available. The more you hold the vibration of certainty, the more coherent your electromagnetic field becomes, and the more precisely the universe mirrors it. You may believe your declarations are only sound, but beneath every affirmation, your body is listening, not metaphorically, biologically. The nervous system records your tone. Your hormones adjust to your language. Your immune system follows your beliefs. Because every I am is not just a thought. It is a chemical command. Your words don't live in the air. They live in your blood, in your muscle memory, in your breath. This is why identity is more than mental repetition. It is a full body signal, a living vibration. When you say, I am afraid, your brain doesn't evaluate whether it's true. It floods your body with cortisol, the stress hormone. Heart rate increases. Breathing becomes shallow. Muscles tighten in anticipation of danger, even if no danger exists. Now say, I am safe, and your body begins to reverse the process. Oxytocin releases. The parasympathetic nervous system activates, initiating rest and restoration. The immune system strengthens. The mind clears. The difference wasn't a change in environment. It was a change in self-declaration. Dr. Candace Pert, pioneer of psychoneuroimmunology, discovered that emotions are not in your head. They are in your entire body. Your cells have receptors that absorb emotional peptides, chemical messengers released with every thought and spoken word. That means your body is responding to your I am statements. Before you're even fully conscious of what you said, you declare I am anxious. Your body obeys, tightening, restricting, reacting. You declare I am grounded. Your body opens. Even if your mind doesn't fully believe it yet, the chemistry begins shifting, and over time, that shift becomes your baseline. Your nervous system doesn't just listen to your words. It watches your posture. It feels your breath. It scans your tone. Say, I am confident with slumped shoulders, downcast eyes, and tight breath. Your body senses the contradiction and rejects the command. But say it while standing tall, breathing deeply, making eye contact. Your physiology receives it as truth. You are always broadcasting a frequency. Your body's role is not to argue with you. Its role is to amplify what you declare. So the question becomes, what are you asking it to repeat? There is a moment when you no longer speak to convince. You no longer declare to get. You no longer affirm to attract. You speak because it is who you are. You live because it is already done. This is the frequency of and so it is. Not a wish, not a performance, but sacred surrender to the truth you've chosen and the self you've become. Most people speak from desire. I want more money. I want love. I want freedom. But their energy says, I'm not there yet. I hope this works. I need this to complete me. This creates a vibrational gap, a mismatch between the frequency of desire and the identity of fulfillment. Wanting says maybe one day, being says I already am. The universe doesn't respond to wanting. It responds to vibrational certainty. Olympic athletes don't win gold because they train harder. They win because they train as the version of themselves who's already won. They don't say I hope to win. They say I am a champion. And I'm here to meet the moment. This is pre-living the result, not pretending, but rehearsing truth until it becomes embodied knowing. You must do the same. Declare it, feel it, walk in it before the world catches up. And when it does, it won't feel like a surprise. It will feel like recognition. Alreadiness is a vibration. It's not arrogance. It's not delusion. It's resonance. When you carry yourself like someone who is already free, doors open, not because you force them, but because you aligned with the version of you that was always holding the key. You don't attract what you chase. You attract what you normalize. So make your future identity feel normal now. Speak as them, decide as them, move as them, and you'll collapse the timeline between vision and reality. Lao Tzu said, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. This is the vibration of and so it is. It does not push. It does not plead. It simply unfolds. The seed does not strain to become the tree. It trusts the process written in its DNA. You are the same. The declaration is your seed. The embodiment is your watering. The stillness is your sunlight. And then, inevitably, the result emerges. You don't need to beg. You don't need to prove. You don't need to obsess over how or when. Your only job is to live the frequency you once longed for, as if it's already yours, because it is. The universe does not answer your wishes. It answers your identity. You began this journey with words, but it ends not with more doing, but with being. You've remembered that your voice is more than sound. It's structure. Your thoughts are more than private noise. They are invitations. Your I am is not a hope. It's a blueprint, a signal to the quantum field, a command to your biology, and a return to your divine authorship. Now you know. You were never trying to become. You were only trying to remember. Remember the one who was always whole, who never needed fixing, only alignment, who didn't have to chase, only declare, and whose word, when spoken in truth, is already done. Let there be was never followed by doubt. It was followed by light. So speak and rest, affirm and walk, declare and become. Not because you're trying to convince the world, but because you finally convinced yourself. This is your life now, a quiet knowing, a powerful stillness, a voice that no longer begs, but creates. My friends, tonight I want to share with you something that will completely revolutionize your relationship with money. But first, let me ask you this. How long have you been chasing financial security? How many years have you struggled, worried, strained, and lived in fear, living life like a desperate beggar, rather than recognizing your true divine inheritance? What if I told you that tonight your struggle ends? What if I told you that before this evening is over, you will learn one powerful sentence, a sacred decree that has the divine power to shift your entire financial consciousness and allow money to find you effortlessly? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you is not theory. It's the very law by which this universe operates. You see, my friends, money is not meant to be chased. Money is meant to respond to your spoken word, your clear assumption, your consciousness of already being the person you wish to be. Your word is law in your world, and the universe, which is nothing more than your own wonderful imagination, pushed out, listens closely, waiting for the exact moment when your consciousness issues a clear and uncompromising decree. Money, in its truest sense, is simply consciousness made manifest. It is obedient spiritual substance that moves according to your assumptions. Up until now, you may have unknowingly held assumptions of scarcity, limitation, or delay, wondering why abundance seems to avoid you. But tonight, that misunderstanding is permanently corrected. Tonight, you will learn the one sentence that instructs your own infinite imagination, the divine intelligence of your consciousness, to open every hidden doorway of abundance. Tonight, you shift your financial destiny. Money will no longer evade you. It will seek you out, find you, follow you, and flow to you effortlessly and ceaselessly. You will no longer live in financial anxiety. You will live in divine certainty. Because when you learn to speak correctly, when you learn to assume correctly, you will understand clearly and completely that wealth is not accidental, it is consciousness. Wealth is not hard-won, it is spiritually assumed. And tonight, your imagination becomes the divine instrument that releases your inheritance. Prepare your consciousness. Quiet your doubt. You have arrived at the turning point. And from this moment forward, your financial life will never be the same again. The universe, my friends, is not ruled by luck. It is ruled by law. Precise, immutable, divine law. And among the highest of these is the law of assumption expressed through the spoken word. From the beginning, consciousness created everything. Let there be light, and there was light. The word was not a suggestion. It was not a hope. It was an assumption crystallized into manifestation. And that same divine authority has been given to you. Your voice is not decoration. It is creative force. Every word you speak carries the vibration of your assumption, and every assumption issues instruction to the substance of your consciousness. When you speak from the feeling of lack, that lack becomes your experience. When you speak from the assumption of abundance, abundance becomes your reality. So when I tell you that a single sentence can bring money to you, I speak not from fantasy, but from eternal law. The scripture declares, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." It does not say you must understand it, or earn it, or deserve it. It says you must decree it, you must assume it to be true. To decree means to issue a spiritual verdict, a final assumption. It is spoken from the consciousness of already being what you desire to be, not from the beggar consciousness of wanting what you don't have. Most people, when it comes to money, speak like beggars. They ask, plead, worry, and wonder, but they do not assume. They say, I hope I can afford it, or I'm always broke, or money just doesn't come easily to me. And so the law of consciousness, being perfectly obedient, fulfills those exact assumptions. You see, the spoken word is not metaphorical. It's mechanical. It sets law into motion. It places the machinery of manifestation into movement. It opens or closes the gates of supply according to the assumption behind it. Money does not move based on emotion or struggle. It moves according to consciousness, according to assumption. And the clearest way to shift that assumption is through bold, rhythmic, feeling tone speech that comes from the end, from already being the prosperous person you desire to be. There is no neutrality in assumption. Every thought is a cause, every feeling is a command, and most people are assuming poverty with their daily mental diet. This is too expensive, they say. I never have enough, they sigh. And then they wonder why money seems to hide. But the one who understands law knows that money is not scarce. It is not cruel. It is not hiding. It is simply waiting for a clear assumption from a consciousness aligned with abundance. Let this truth penetrate your very being. Money is not attracted by effort. It is attracted by assumption. And that assumption is expressed not through stress, but through the feeling of already having what you desire, crystallized in speech. When you begin to speak as one who already possesses what you seek, everything in your consciousness begins to shift. Opportunities appear, resources manifest, doors that were locked swing wide, not because you hustled, but because you assumed, because you spoke from the end. Do not underestimate the power of words spoken from the right consciousness. The right sentence spoken from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, with rhythmic repetition, with unwavering assumption, can undo a lifetime of financial limitation. It can uproot generations of poverty thinking. It can rewire the subconscious patterns and instruct your divine imagination to manifest money swiftly, generously, and without resistance. This is not positive thinking, my friends. This is not wishful hoping. This is law. The same law that governs the tides, the planets, the seasons. And it does not fail. It does not sleep. It does not argue. It simply fulfills your dominant assumption, whether that assumption is rooted in fear or in faith. The world says you must work harder, try more, figure it out, stay up late, and fight your way forward. But the truth says, speak the word only, and thy servant shall be healed. The truth says, life and death are in the power of the tongue. The truth says your word is your creative power. So what are you doing with that power? Are you speaking as a creator or as a victim? Are you assuming your wealth or lamenting your lack? You cannot speak two languages and expect clarity from consciousness. You cannot assume abundance in the morning and complain about money in the afternoon and expect divine supply to manifest. For law is clear. It responds to your dominant assumption, and your dominant assumption is established by repetition, rhythm, and feeling. You must choose today to become disciplined in speech, not casual, not reactive, but deliberate, bold, and feeling-toned. Because your life reflects your assumptions, and your assumptions are crystallized through your language. If your bank account is in disorder, examine your mental conversations. If your debts multiply, check your assumptions. If your needs always outweigh your income, look not to the economy. Look to your consciousness. Look to your tongue. For your imagination is the gateway through which divine supply either flows or is blocked. When you speak from fear, you activate the law of assumption in reverse. You assume lack, and lack becomes your experience. You say, I can't afford this, and the law says, as you have assumed, so shall it be. You say it's always something, and the law answers, let it be done according to your assumption. You say, money never stays with me, and so it becomes your experience. The law is not punishing you, it is serving you. But it cannot serve what you refuse to assume. So I instruct you now, from this day forward, you will not allow your consciousness to entertain a single assumption of lack. You will not repeat the world's vocabulary of limitation. You will assume only what you wish to experience. You will speak only what you desire to manifest. For your word is the mold, and divine substance is the material that fills it. If your bank account is in disorder, examine your mental conversations. If your debts multiply, check your assumptions. If your needs always outweigh your income, look not to the economy. Look to your consciousness. Look to your tongue. For your imagination is the gateway through which divine supply either flows or is blocked. When you speak from fear, you activate the law of assumption in reverse. You assume lack, and lack becomes your experience. You say, I can't afford this, and the law says, as you have assumed, so shall it be. You say it's always something, and the law answers, let it be done according to your assumption. You say, money never stays with me, and so it becomes your experience. The law is not punishing you, it is serving you. But it cannot serve what you refuse to assume. So I instruct you now, from this day forward, you will not allow your consciousness to entertain a single assumption of lack. You will not repeat the world's vocabulary of limitation. You will assume only what you wish to experience. You will speak only what you desire to manifest. For your word is the mold, and divine substance is the material that fills it. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you engage with the world, you will speak. Every evening, before you lay your head down, you will speak. You will speak clearly. You will speak from the feeling of already being provided for. You will speak not as a beggar, but as one who recognizes their divine inheritance. You will speak not as a seeker, but as one who has found. For consciousness is a fountain of life, and today your consciousness becomes a fountain of wealth. Do not wait until you feel rich to speak as the rich speak. Speak it first. The feeling will follow your assumption. Conditions will obey your consciousness. This is the divine order of creation. The word goes first. The spoken assumption creates the invisible pattern. Then and only then does it become visible in your experience. And when you speak, speak with feeling, speak with rhythm, speak with the absolute conviction that what you assume is already established in consciousness. Do not wonder if it's working. Know that it must, because law never fails. So now I ask you, are you ready to speak like one who knows their true identity? Are you ready to issue assumptions of abundance to your consciousness, not from fear, but from divine authority? Are you ready to stop seeking and start being? Then prepare your consciousness, because now I will give you an exact sentence, a spiritual decree tested by time, proven by law, and fulfilled by consciousness. This sentence does not ask for money. It assumes it. It does not beg for supply. It claims it. And when you speak it rhythmically, daily, faithfully, and from the proper feeling, money must find you. The sentence is this: Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. This is not poetic language, my friends. This is spiritual command. This is a living key forged in divine truth. When spoken from the proper consciousness, it moves mountains, dissolves delays, and releases divine provision through channels your rational mind could never predict. You are not speaking to a person. You are not pleading with an institution. You are issuing instruction to infinite consciousness, your source, your supply, the divine presence that orchestrates all visible manifestation. Let us examine this sacred sentence, word by word, so your soul may grasp its depth and your consciousness may assume it with unwavering authority. Infinite Spirit, you begin by addressing the source, not the job, not the bank, not the market. You bypass all limited channels and speak directly to the infinite. For money is not generated by man. It is distributed through man, but it flows from consciousness, from God, from your own wonderful imagination. When you say Infinite Spirit, you are declaring that your faith is not in economy, but in consciousness itself. You recognize that divine intelligence is the origin of all wealth. You return your attention to the storehouse of imagination, not the limitations of the world. Open the way. This is assumption in action, not suggestion. You are instructing divine law to remove all subconscious interference, dissolve every unseen block, and reveal the open door through which your supply flows. This is the law of non-resistance. You are not forcing outcomes. You are removing the assumption of obstacles. You are not pushing. You are assuming the way is already open. And consciousness, being perfect intelligence, knows exactly what channels must manifest. It may be a phone call, a canceled debt, a job offer, a creative idea, but it will be the perfect way, the natural way, the way that unfolds with ease. You do not decide how, you assume that the way is open. For my immediate supply. You do not assume for one day, you do not hope for someday. You assume now, you assume immediacy. Divine delay is never divine denial, but many have assumed vaguely, hoping for eventual provision. No more. You assume your immediate supply, because you know that in consciousness, there is no time. There is only divine order. What is yours exists already in the invisible realm of imagination. The only delay is in your assumption. But now, having assumed lawfully, you claim your supply in this moment. Not rushed, not desperate, but right on divine schedule, which is now. This portion of the sentence sets into motion the spiritual machinery that bypasses limitation, breaks through resistance, and floods your experience with provision. It is the law of assumption, replacing fear with faith. It is the law of manifestation, magnetizing invisible supply into visible form. As you speak these words, know that you are not merely repeating a spiritual formula. You are issuing a divine assumption. You are commanding consciousness to move, the channels to open, and the wealth already assigned to your experience to arrive without delay. You do not merely say this sentence, you assume it. You do not recite it from memory, you speak it from consciousness. You speak it as one who knows, one who no longer wonders, one who no longer doubts, one who has ceased from seeking and begun being. Let all that is mine, by divine right. These are not the possessions of ego, nor the riches of greed. These are not stolen treasures or hurried gains. These are the things that belong to you by spiritual law, already assigned, already prepared, already complete in consciousness. This phrase affirms that you do not steal what belongs to another, nor fear that your good interferes with someone else's blessing. You are not in competition, you are in assumption. When you say by divine right, you are assuming alignment with the highest good for all. You are invoking the law of harmony, blessings that bless everyone involved. There is no guilt in this supply, no confusion, no compromise, only perfect provision manifesting in perfect ways. Now reach me. This is the assumption of magnetic reception. You are not sending your good into the distance. You are assuming it into the now. You are issuing a retrieval command. These words dissolve all imaginary barriers. Time, fear, distance, disbelief. They remove the waiting room. They cancel delay. You speak not from lack trying to attract. You speak from law, assuming what is already yours. There is no begging in this consciousness. There is no uncertainty, only confident assumption. In great avalanches of abundance, this final phrase is sacred power. This is consciousness accepting no limitation. You are not assuming pennies or trickles. You are assuming avalanches, not drops but downpours, not portions but floods, not limited help but total overflow. This is the law of abundance in motion. You do not limit consciousness to small answers. You allow yourself to receive on the level of divine surplus. The avalanche metaphor is deliberate. Avalanches are massive, sudden, unstoppable. And that is how your good will appear when you assume this sentence with rhythm and conviction. Not by small, predictable channels, but by surprising, immense, undeniable manifestation. You may wake to news that erases your debt. You may be offered a position you never expected. You may receive a refund, a return, a reward, a release you cannot calculate. You cannot predict the channel, but you must trust the law. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. Speak this sentence daily, morning and night. Speak it when fear rises. Speak it when doubt tries to whisper. Speak it when lack appears to threaten. For this sentence is your spiritual sword. It cuts through appearances and commands divine reality to manifest. Speak it aloud, with rhythm, with breath, with finality. Do not mumble. Do not apologize. You are not a beggar. You are divine consciousness individualized. And let me say this clearly. It is not the sentence alone that brings the supply. It is the consciousness behind the sentence, the assumption of certainty, the inner agreement, the sacred authority of your spoken command. When you speak as one with infinite consciousness, when you issue this sentence as divine decree, when you repeat it faithfully and assumingly, then yes, money must find you. Not because you're lucky, but because you've assumed according to law. Let no one distract you from this truth. Let no thought dilute your assumption. You do not need to manipulate. You do not need to beg. You do not need to force. You need only to assume faithfully, assume rhythmically, assume boldly, and watch what must appear. This is the sentence. This is the key. This is the turning point. Now let us seal this truth deeper by reprogramming your subconscious mind to accept this sentence as your new financial reality. You have now heard the sentence, you have understood its meaning, but until your subconscious mind accepts it as truth, your outer experience will continue to reflect old assumptions. You see, the subconscious is the deep garden of consciousness. It does not respond to logic. It responds to repetition, to emotion, to imagery. It does not argue with you. It does not question your assumptions. It simply accepts what you allow it to assume often enough. This is why you must now take your spoken sentence and plant it deliberately into the fertile ground of your subconscious mind, day by day, night by night. Do not assume once and wonder. Do not whisper it timidly and hope. You must command it rhythmically until it becomes a living assumption in your being. Your subconscious mind has, until now, accepted phrases like, I can't afford it, money is tight, or there's never enough. And so your outer world has obeyed those assumptions. But now you replace those weeds with divine seed. You repeat the sentence, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply, until your subconscious accepts it not as novelty, but as law, not as a wish, but as assumption. Do this first thing upon waking. Do this last thing before sleep. For in those moments, the subconscious is wide open, receptive, impressionable. Speak the sentence slowly, with feeling, as though you are writing it with fire across the surface of your soul. Imagine money already finding you. Unexpected payments, surprising breakthroughs, joyful overflow. See it, speak it, feel it, and assume it. You must create a rhythm, morning and evening, not 5 times today and never again, not when you feel like it, but with the discipline of one who understands law. Reprogramming is not mystical, it is mechanical. If you give the subconscious a new assumption enough times, it must obey. Do not worry if you don't feel different at first. Assume anyway. Do not stop when the outer world still looks unchanged. Assume anyway. You are assuming through appearances, not to them. You are issuing an assumption that bypasses circumstance and rewrites the invisible blueprint that creates visible results. You may begin to feel strange when assuming it. Good. That means the old programming is cracking. You may feel resistance. Good. That means you're interrupting the old assumption. But assume anyway. Assume through it. Assume until the sentence becomes more familiar than your fear. Now that you have received the truth, you are no longer a seeker. You are an assumer. You are no longer a questioner. You are a commander. And so I now place before you a sacred challenge, not to test your worthiness, but to activate your assumption. For the next 7 consecutive days, you will speak this sentence, morning and night, without excuse, without doubt, without delay. Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. You will say it with breath. You will say it with rhythm. You will say it aloud, not in your head, not in theory, but aloud, where the vibration is sent, where the assumption is activated. Each morning, before the world rushes in, you will pause and speak these words as law. You will declare them not like a beggar asking for mercy, but like consciousness itself issuing command. And each night, before you cross the threshold into sleep, you will speak again, sealing your subconscious with divine supply. This is not a mantra. This is not a charm. This is a lawful assumption spoken daily that will begin to shift consciousness, and consciousness governs experience. What you see today is only the echo of assumptions you've held in the past. If you want new results, new inflows, new money, new manifestations, you must assume a new consciousness. For these 7 days, you are forbidden from assuming lack. You will not say, I'm broke. You will not complain about money. You will not repeat the language of fear, debt, or delay. Your consciousness belongs to abundance now. Your assumptions are the construction crew of heaven. And I make this promise to you, as surely as divine law is exact. If you assume this sentence faithfully for 7 nights and 7 mornings, without contradiction, with reverence and rhythm, something will shift. You may receive a check, a debt forgiven, a job offer, a refund, a creative idea that changes everything. You do not need to know how. You need only to be faithful to the assumption. Do not ask, is it working? That question reveals disbelief. It must work. Law cannot lie. Consciousness does not forget. Your assumption never returns void. You do not assume to make something happen. You assume because it already has in consciousness. Let each day become more confident. Let each night become more surrendered. Let your voice become more aligned, more sure, more rhythmic. And do not just say it. Feel it. Feel the avalanche as you speak it. Picture the floodgates of wealth opening. Hear the sound of money flowing in. Let your whole being agree with your assumption. This challenge is not about money. It is about consciousness. It is about trust. It is about becoming the person who assumes wealth because they have become wealth in vibration. So take this seriously. Treat it as sacred. Write the sentence, carry it, speak it, and record what happens. Because when you assume truth, life rearranges itself to match your assumption. Say aloud now, I accept the 7-day challenge. I commit to assuming this sentence morning and night. I expect divine demonstration, and I trust the law. You have now accepted your role as divine consciousness individualized. You have crossed from doubt to assumption. And now prepare for the return, for what you have assumed is already on its way to you.
Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I want to talk to you about something that will completely change the way you see yourself and your life. I want to talk to you about the art of dreaming while awake. Now, when I say dream, I don't mean daydreaming. I don't mean fantasizing. I don't mean letting your mind wander aimlessly while you wait for life to happen to you. No, I mean something far more powerful, far more deliberate, far more creative than that. I mean the conscious use of your imagination to experience right now in this moment what you desire to experience in your world. You see, most people think there's a difference between their sleeping dreams and their waking life. They think the dream is unreal and the waking world is real. But I'm telling you tonight, there is no difference. None whatsoever. When you sleep at night and dream, where does that dream take place? In your mind, in your consciousness, in your imagination. And when you wake up in the morning and experience this world, where does this experience take place? In the same place, in your mind, in your consciousness, in your imagination. The only difference between your sleeping dream and your waking dream is that in your sleeping dream, you know you're dreaming at least once you wake up. But in your waking dream, you've forgotten that you're dreaming. You think this world is happening to you, that it's separate from you, that it's more real than your imagination. But it's not. This waking world is just as much a dream as the one you had last night. The only difference is that this is a shared dream, a collective dream, and you've been dreaming it for so long that you've convinced yourself it's solid, permanent, unchangeable. But I'm here to tell you, you can dream a new dream right now, while awake. And that new dream, if you persist in it, will become your waking reality. This is not theory, this is not philosophy. This is the mechanics of creation. You are dreaming your life into being every single moment. The question is, are you dreaming consciously or unconsciously? Are you dreaming deliberately or by default? Most people dream by default. They wake up in the morning, look at their circumstances, and their imagination simply replays yesterday. They imagine more of what they already have. They expect more of what they've already experienced. And so their waking dream continues in the same pattern, the same groove, the same limitations. But you don't have to do that. You can dream a different dream. You can use your imagination right now while fully awake to experience something entirely new. Let me tell you what I mean. When you go to sleep at night and you dream, you don't question the reality of that dream while you're in it, do you? If you dream you're walking on a beach, you feel the sand beneath your feet. If you dream you're talking to a friend, you hear their voice. If you dream you're afraid, your heart races. The dream feels completely real while you're experiencing it. And that's because in that moment it is real. It's real in consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality there is. Now, what if you could do that while awake? What if you could close your eyes right now, while sitting in your chair, and imagine yourself into a completely different state? What if you could feel yourself in the wish fulfilled, so vividly, so naturally that it becomes real to you in consciousness? That's what I mean by dreaming while awake. It's the deliberate use of your imagination to enter into the feeling of your desire being already fulfilled. Not thinking about it, not wishing for it, but actually experiencing it in imagination as though it were happening now. I remember a time when I was struggling. I had a vision of where I wanted to be, who I wanted to become, but my circumstances seemed to contradict that vision at every turn. I could have looked at my circumstances and said, "This is reality. I must accept this. I must be realistic." But instead I chose to dream while awake. Every day I would sit quietly and imagine myself living the life I desired. I didn't imagine it as something in the future. I imagined it now. I felt myself already there. I heard the congratulations of friends. I felt the satisfaction of achievement. I experienced, in my imagination, the reality I desired. And I persisted in that dream, day after day, night after night. And slowly, sometimes it seemed too slowly, the outer world began to conform to my inner dream. Opportunities appeared. Circumstances shifted. People came into my life. And before long I was living the very reality I had been dreaming while awake. Was it magic? Was it coincidence? No, it was law. It was the law of consciousness. The law that says whatever you are conscious of, whatever you experience in imagination, must eventually manifest in your world. You see, your imagination is not separate from reality. Your imagination is the creative force that shapes reality. When you imagine something vividly, when you feel it real, you are not pretending. You are actually creating. You are impressing upon consciousness the pattern that must later appear in your world. Most people use their imagination unconsciously. They imagine the worst. They replay their fears. They rehearse their problems. And then they wonder why their life is filled with more of what they don't want. But you can change that. You can take control of your imagination. You can decide what you will dream while awake. There was a woman I knew who was desperate to change her living situation. She was in a small, cramped apartment that she hated. Every day she would complain about it. She would look around at those walls and feel trapped. She would imagine herself stuck there forever. And I said to her, "Stop dreaming that dream. Dream a different dream. Right now, while you're awake, close your eyes and imagine yourself in the home you desire. Walk through the rooms. Feel the space. Look out the windows. Make it so real in your imagination that you can't tell the difference between that and this." She was skeptical. She said, "But that's just pretending. That's not real." And I said, "What do you think this is?" I gestured to the apartment around us. "This is also imagination. This is also a dream. The only difference is that you've been dreaming this dream for so long that you've accepted it as fixed. But if you will dream a new dream and persist in it, this too will fade and the new will appear." She decided to try it. Every night before sleep, and often during the day, she would close her eyes and dream while awake. She would imagine herself in a beautiful, spacious home. She would feel the joy of it. She would experience the relief of having what she desired. And within a few months, I kid you not, an opportunity came that she never could have predicted. A relative offered her a place. The rent was affordable. It was everything she had imagined. Some would call it luck, but I call it the natural result of dreaming while awake. Now, let me be very clear about what I mean by this. When I say dream while awake, I don't mean to escape from your life. I don't mean to live in fantasy while ignoring your responsibilities. I mean to use your imagination as the creative tool it was designed to be. Your imagination is not for entertainment. It's not for passing the time. It's for creation. It's for molding and shaping the reality you wish to experience. Every great thing that has ever been accomplished in this world began as someone's waking dream. The inventor dreams of his invention before it exists. The artist dreams of her painting before she touches brush to canvas. The musician dreams of the symphony before a single note is played. They all dream while awake. They see in their imagination what does not yet exist in the outer world. And then through the mysterious law of consciousness, that inner dream becomes outer reality. You have the same power. You are using it right now, whether you know it or not. The question is, what are you dreaming? What are you imagining? What are you feeling real in consciousness? Because I promise you, whatever you are dreaming while awake, that is what will appear in your world. If you dream poverty, you will see poverty. If you dream illness, you will experience illness. If you dream loneliness, you will be lonely. Not because the world is doing this to you, but because you are dreaming it into being. But if you will discipline your imagination, if you will take control of what you allow yourself to experience in consciousness, you can dream anything, absolutely anything. You want health? Dream it. Feel yourself healthy. Experience in imagination the vitality and energy of perfect health. Don't wait for the symptoms to disappear before you imagine health. Dream health now, while awake, and persist in that dream. You want love? Dream it. Imagine yourself loved. Feel the warmth of companionship. Experience the joy of mutual affection. Don't wait for the person to appear before you feel loved. Dream love now, and the person must come. You want success? Dream it. See yourself successful. Feel the satisfaction of achievement. Experience the respect and admiration you desire. Don't wait for the accomplishment before you feel successful. Dream success now, and the accomplishment must follow. This is the secret. This is what I've been trying to tell you in 100 different ways. You are the dreamer, dreaming this life into being, and you can change the dream anytime you choose, simply by changing what you imagine, what you feel, what you experience in consciousness. But here's the key. You must dream while awake, not just once, not just when you feel like it, but persistently, faithfully, until the dream becomes so real to you that you no longer distinguish between the inner dream and the outer reality. When you reach that point, when your waking dream feels just as real as your current circumstances, that's when the shift happens. That's when the outer world must conform. It has no choice. Consciousness is the only reality, and all things must bow to consciousness. I've seen this happen countless times. I've lived it myself. And I'm telling you, as someone who has tested this law over and over again, it works. It always works. If you will dream while awake and persist in that dream, it must become your reality. The mystics understood this. They spoke of waking sleep and sleeping wakefulness. They knew that most people are asleep while they think they're awake, and that the truly awakened person is the one who consciously dreams their world into being. Scripture tells us to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. How do you renew your mind? By dreaming a new dream, by imagining a new reality, by experiencing in consciousness something different than what your senses report. This is not denial. This is not avoidance. This is creation. This is the conscious use of the only creative power you have, your imagination. So tonight I want you to try something. Before you go to sleep, I want you to dream while awake. Close your eyes, relax your body, and imagine yourself living the life you desire. Don't imagine it in the future. Imagine it now. Make it vivid. Make it real. Engage all your senses. Where are you? Who is with you? What do you see around you? How do you feel? What are people saying to you? Let yourself experience it fully, as though it were happening in this very moment. And then carry that dream with you. Return to it throughout your day. Remind yourself of it. Let it become more real to you than your current circumstances. Because I promise you, if you will persist in this dream, if you will make it your dwelling place in consciousness, it must manifest. The outer world must conform to the inner dream. It cannot do otherwise. You are the dreamer. You've always been the dreamer. The only question is, what will you dream? Will you continue to dream the same old dream? The dream of limitation and lack? Or will you dare to dream something new? Something wonderful, something that makes your heart sing? The choice is yours. But I'm telling you, you are already dreaming. You're dreaming right now. This moment is your dream made visible. So dream consciously, dream deliberately, dream beautifully, dream while awake, and watch as your waking world transforms to match the dream you've been dreaming in consciousness. Thank you and good evening. Remember, the power to transform your life lies within your own wonderful human imagination. Dare to assume you are what you want to be, and remain faithful to that assumption. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to tell you something that will shock you, something that contradicts the entire positive thinking movement that has swept the world. Stop being positive. Stop trying to think positive thoughts. Stop forcing yourself to feel positive emotions. Stop pretending everything is wonderful when it is not. Because positive thinking, as it is commonly practiced, is one of the greatest obstacles to true manifestation. I can see the confusion on your faces. But Neville, you're thinking, haven't you taught us that our thoughts create reality? That we should think about what we want, not what we don't want? Yes, I have taught this. But there is a vast difference between conscious creation through assumption and the desperate, exhausting practice of positive thinking that most people engage in. And tonight, I am going to show you that difference. I am going to teach you what to be instead of positive. And when you understand this, when you make this shift, you will discover a power far greater than positive thinking could ever provide. Let me explain what is wrong with positive thinking, as most people practice it. Positive thinking, as taught by the masses, is a reaction to negativity. It is an attempt to cover up negative feelings with positive thoughts. It is forcing yourself to smile when you want to cry. It is repeating affirmations while your heart screams the opposite. It is pretending everything is fine when you are actually drowning. This is not creation. This is suppression. And suppression does not change reality. It only buries your true feelings deeper, where they continue to create from the shadows. Watch what happens when someone practices positive thinking. They wake up feeling anxious about money. So they tell themselves, I am abundant. Money flows to me easily. But underneath the words, the anxiety remains. They are not changing their state. They are covering it up. They look at their empty bed and feel lonely. So they affirm, I am loved. My perfect partner is coming to me. But the loneliness is still there, hidden beneath the positive words. They are not creating love. They are denying loneliness. They receive a medical diagnosis and feel afraid. So they declare, I am perfectly healthy. My body is healing, but the fear persists, masked by positive statements. They are not assuming health. They are fighting sickness. This is the great deception of positive thinking. It keeps you in a state of resistance. You are resisting what is trying to cover it up with what you wish were true. And resistance is not creation. Resistance is struggle. And struggle cannot manifest. Here is what most people do not understand. It is not the words that create. It is the state of consciousness from which the words arise. You can speak the most positive affirmations. You can visualize the most wonderful outcomes. You can paste your walls with vision boards. But if underneath all of this, your consciousness is rooted in lack, in fear, in unworthiness, then lack, fear, and unworthiness is what you will create. The universe does not respond to your words. It responds to your state. And no amount of positive thinking can change your state if you are using positive thinking to avoid feeling what you actually feel. Let me tell you about a woman who came to me exhausted from positive thinking. She had been affirming abundance for 3 years. She had vision boards. She had mantras. She had positive affirmations on sticky notes all over her house. But she was still broke. In fact, her financial situation had gotten worse. I asked her, when you speak these affirmations, what do you feel? She said, I feel like I'm trying really hard to believe them. I feel like if I stop saying them, everything will fall apart. I feel desperate to make them true. There is your problem, I said. You are not creating from abundance. You are creating from desperation disguised as positivity. The universe does not hear your words. It feels your state. And your state is desperation, covered with a thin layer of positive thinking. She began to cry. But if I stop being positive, won't everything get worse? Won't I attract more negativity? No, I replied. Because I am not asking you to be negative. I am asking you to be something far more powerful than either positive or negative. I am asking you to be certain. Here is what you should be. Instead of positive, be certain. Certainty is not positive or negative. Certainty is beyond both. Certainty is the unshakable knowing that what you desire is already yours. Regardless of current circumstances, regardless of evidence, regardless of what anyone else says or believes. Positive thinking says, I hope this works. I'm trying to believe. I'm focusing on the good. Certainty says it is already done. There is nothing to hope for because it already is. There is nothing to try to believe because I already know. Do you see the difference? Positive thinking is effort. Certainty is rest. Positive thinking is hoping. Certainty is knowing. Positive thinking looks toward a desired future. Certainty recognizes a present fact. When you are certain, you do not need to be positive. You do not need to cover up negative feelings with positive thoughts. You simply know what is true, and you rest in that knowing. Think about something you are absolutely certain of. Perhaps that the sun will rise tomorrow. Perhaps that your name is your name. Do you need to think positively about these things? Do you need to affirm them? Do you need to convince yourself they are true? No. You simply know them. You are certain. And that certainty requires no effort, no maintenance, no positive thinking. This is the state you must cultivate for your desires. Not positive hoping, but certain knowing. So how do you become certain about something that has not yet appeared in your physical reality? How do you know something is yours when your senses tell you it is not? The answer lies in understanding where reality truly exists. Reality does not exist in the physical world. The physical world is merely a reflection, a shadow, an echo of reality. True reality exists in consciousness. When you desire something, and you assume in consciousness that it is already yours, it is yours at the level of reality that matters. It exists in consciousness, and consciousness is the only creative power. Once something exists in consciousness, its appearance in the physical world is inevitable. It is already done. This is how you cultivate certainty. You recognize that your desire is not something you must bring into existence. It already exists in consciousness the moment you assume it. And consciousness always projects itself into physical form. You are not hoping it will manifest. You are not trying to make it happen. You know it is already accomplished in consciousness. And you are simply waiting for the physical world to catch up and reflect what is already true. This knowing, this certainty requires no positive thinking. It requires no effort to maintain. It is simply a fact that you accept like you accept any other fact of your existence. Let me give you a practical example. The woman I mentioned earlier, who was exhausted from positive thinking, I taught her to replace her desperate affirmations with simple statements of certainty. Instead of saying money is flowing to me, with desperate hope, I taught her to say calmly and with finality, money is mine. It is already accomplished in consciousness. The physical appearance is just a matter of time. Instead of trying to feel positive about her empty bank account, I taught her to simply know I am financially secure. This is a fact in consciousness. The numbers will update to reflect this fact. No strain, no force, no desperate positivity, just calm, certain knowing. Within 2 months her income had tripled. But more importantly, she was at peace. She was no longer exhausted from trying to be positive. She was resting in certainty. Now let me clarify something important. What I am teaching you is not faith as opposed to positive thinking. Faith and certainty are the same thing. True faith is not hoping something will happen. It is knowing it is already done. It is certainty about the unseen reality of consciousness. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Most people read this and think faith is about hoping. But look more carefully. Faith is the substance, the actual reality of what you hope for. Faith is the evidence, the proof of what you cannot yet see. Faith is not hoping your desire will manifest. Faith is knowing your desire already exists in consciousness, which is the only reality that matters. This is certainty, and this is what positive thinking tries to be but fails to achieve. Positive thinking is hoping dressed up as confidence. Certainty is knowing that requires no dress. Now you may be wondering if I am not supposed to cover up negative feelings with positive thoughts. What am I supposed to do with them? The answer is simple. Observe them, acknowledge them, and then choose your state of consciousness regardless of them. When you feel anxious about money, do not try to think positive thoughts to make the anxiety go away. That is resistance. Instead, observe the anxiety. Acknowledge it. I am feeling anxious. Then choose your state. But anxiety is not my reality. My reality is abundance, which already exists in consciousness. I choose to rest in that certainty. When you feel lonely, do not force positive affirmations to cover the loneliness. Acknowledge it. I am feeling lonely right now. Then choose. But loneliness is a temporary feeling, not my permanent state. My reality is that I am loved. This is true in consciousness. And consciousness is what creates my experience. Do you see the difference? You are not denying your feelings. You are not suppressing them. You are not covering them up with false positivity. You are simply recognizing that feelings are temporary reactions to temporary circumstances. But your chosen state of consciousness is your true reality. This is mature spiritual practice, not the childish game of pretending everything is wonderful, but the powerful choice to identify with your desired state even while acknowledging current feelings and circumstances. Here is another important truth. Certainty does not require you to feel good all the time. Positive thinking says you must always feel happy, always feel abundant, always feel loving. If you feel bad, you are told you are attracting negativity, and you must immediately shift to positive thoughts. But certainty knows that you can feel however you feel, and it does not change what is true in consciousness. You can feel anxious and still be certain of abundance. You can feel lonely and still be certain of love. You can feel doubt and still be certain of your manifestation. Why? Because certainty is not a feeling. Certainty is a knowing, and knowing is deeper than feeling. You can feel all kinds of ways throughout your day, but underneath every feeling, there can be an unshakable knowing that your desire is already accomplished in consciousness. This knowing does not require constant positive emotion. It simply is. This is tremendously liberating. You no longer have to police your emotions. You no longer have to feel guilty when you have a bad day. You no longer have to force yourself to feel positive when you do not. You simply return to what you know. It is already done in consciousness. That is enough. So if you are not trying to be positive, how do you speak about your desires? How do you think about them? How do you maintain your manifestation without positive thinking? The answer is through calm assertion. Calm assertion is stating what is true in consciousness with the same certainty you would state any other fact. No excitement, no force, no desperate hope. Just simple, calm declaration of what is. Instead of excitedly affirming, I am so abundant, money is flowing to me from everywhere, you calmly assert, I am financially secure. This is established in consciousness. Instead of desperately visualizing your desire for hours, you briefly acknowledge, this is already mine in the dimension where all creation takes place. I claim it as my reality. Instead of constantly checking for signs and trying to stay positive about your manifestation, you simply know it is done. The physical world will reflect this in its own time. Notice the energy difference. Positive thinking is high energy, effortful, often desperate. Certainty is calm, settled, at rest. Which energy do you think is more powerful? Which energy suggests someone who truly has what they desire? If you truly owned a mansion, would you be excitedly affirming, I have a mansion, all day long? No. You would simply live in the mansion. You would take it for granted as a normal part of your life. This is the energy of certainty. This is what you should be instead of positive. Let me give you the ultimate distinction between positive thinking and certainty. Positive thinking tries to create reality. Certainty knows reality is already created in consciousness. Positive thinking is work, certainty is rest. Positive thinking looks to the future. Certainty recognizes the eternal now where all things already are. Positive thinking needs constant maintenance. Certainty is self-sustaining. Positive thinking fears negativity. Certainty is unmoved by temporary feelings and circumstances. Positive thinking is exhausting. Certainty is peaceful. So tonight I want you to make a commitment. Stop trying to be positive. Stop forcing positive thoughts. Stop covering up real feelings with fake positivity. Instead, cultivate certainty. Know that what you desire already exists in consciousness. Know that consciousness is the only creative power. Know that once something exists in consciousness, its physical manifestation is inevitable. Rest in this knowing. Return to this knowing. Live from this knowing. This is not positive thinking. This is something far more powerful. This is the certainty that moves mountains, that parts seas, that manifests the impossible. Be certain. Be unshakable. Be at rest in the knowledge that it is already done. And watch as your world transforms, not through the exhausting effort of positive thinking, but through the calm, certain knowing of one who understands where reality truly exists and how it truly operates. Stop being positive and be certain instead. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
My dear friends, for too long, you have been taught that you are powerless, that life happens to you, that you must accept whatever circumstances have been dealt to you. But I tell you now, with every fiber of my being, with every breath of truth that flows through me, this is the greatest lie ever told to man. You are not powerless. You are not victims. You are not at the mercy of a cruel and capricious fate. The universe, this magnificent, responsive, living field of infinite possibility, is not your master. It is your servant. It does not command you. You command it. It does not dictate to you. You dictate to it. The universe will obey you, must obey you, because you are the operant power in your own experience. Today, I will strip away the veils of illusion that have kept you in bondage. I will show you the mechanics of creation itself. I will teach you to pray not as beggars, but as gods. For that is what you are. Gods in amnesia. Creators who have forgotten their power. Artists who have lost sight of their canvas. Listen carefully, for what I am about to tell you will shatter everything you think you know about the nature of existence. Reality, this solid, seemingly immutable world around you, is not what it appears to be. It is not fixed. It is not permanent. It is not even real in the way you have been taught to understand reality. Reality is consciousness, is mind. It is imagination made visible. The world you see, touch, and experience is nothing more than your own consciousness pushed out, objectified, made manifest in the theater of space and time. I have seen the faces of those who believe themselves trapped by circumstances, and I have witnessed the transformation of those who discovered their power. The difference between them is not luck, not privilege, not even circumstances. It is understanding. The mystics of old knew this truth. They spoke in parables and symbols because the human mind, trapped in its limited understanding, could not grasp the full magnitude of what they were revealing. When they said the kingdom of heaven is within you, they were not speaking metaphorically. They were stating a literal fact. The power to create heaven on earth lies within your very consciousness. Modern science, in its relentless pursuit of truth, has stumbled upon this same revelation. At the quantum level, reality exists in a state of infinite potential, waves of possibility that collapse into particles of experience only when observed. You are that observer. You are the one who chooses, moment by moment, which possibility becomes your reality. But here is where science and spirituality meet in perfect harmony. The observer is not passive. The observer is creative. The observer shapes reality through the very act of observation. And what determines the nature of that observation? Your assumptions, your beliefs, your dominant feeling states, your imagination. Assumption, this simple word, holds the key to all creation. When you assume something to be true, when you accept it as fact in your consciousness, you set in motion forces that must bring it to pass. The universe has no choice in the matter. It must conform to your assumptions, because assumption is the creative power of consciousness itself. I have seen miracles born from assumption. I have witnessed the impossible become inevitable through the power of one person's unwavering assumption. A woman assumes she is loved, and love flows to her from sources she never could have imagined. A man assumes he is successful, and opportunities appear as if the universe itself is conspiring to fulfill his assumption. But I have also seen the tragic power of negative assumption. People assume they are unlucky, and misfortune follows them like a shadow. They assume they are unworthy, and life reflects that unworthiness back to them in 1,000 painful ways. They assume they are limited, and limitation becomes their prison. The universe does not judge your assumptions. It does not deem them right or wrong, good or bad. It simply obeys them. It is the perfect servant, responding to your every command with mathematical precision. But understand this. Your assumptions are your commands. Every assumption you hold is an order given to the universe, and the universe must fill that order. This is why I implore you to examine your assumptions with the care of a jeweler examining a precious stone. What are you assuming about yourself? About your possibilities? About your worth? About your future? These assumptions are not idle thoughts. They are the very blueprints from which your reality is constructed. I remember a man who came to me in despair. He had been unemployed for months, and everywhere he looked, he saw only rejection and closed doors. The world is against me, he said. There are no opportunities for someone like me. I looked at him with compassion and said, my friend, you are absolutely right. As long as you assume there are no opportunities, there will be none. As long as you assume the world is against you, it will be. But what if you dared to assume the opposite? This man, through practice and persistence, began to assume that opportunities were everywhere, that the world was eager to reward his talents, that he was exactly what employers were looking for. Within weeks, not days, but weeks, his world transformed. The same employers who had previously rejected him were now calling him. The same world that had seemed hostile now appeared friendly and welcoming. What changed? Not the world. The world is always neutral. What changed was his assumption, and with it, his reality. Oh, but how the word prayer has been corrupted, how it has been twisted into an act of begging, of pleading, of desperate supplication to a distant and often indifferent God. I tell you now, this is not prayer. This is spiritual poverty. True prayer is not begging or asking. True prayer is not hoping or wishing or pleading. It is the art of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the conscious act of inhabiting the state of consciousness that corresponds to your desire already being real. When you pray effectively, you do not reach outward with empty hands. You reach inward to the infinite storehouse of possibilities that exists within your own consciousness. You select the reality you wish to experience, and you feel it as true. You inhabit it. You become it. I have taught this truth for decades, and I have seen it transform lives in ways that would be called miraculous if people understood that miracles are simply the natural result of conscious creation. A mother prays for her child's healing, not by begging a distant God, but by assuming the feeling of her child already being whole and perfect. A man prays for abundance not by pleading for money, but by inhabiting the consciousness of already being prosperous. This is the prayer that moves mountains, that parts the waters, that brings the dead back to life. Not because it convinces some external deity to intervene, but because it aligns consciousness with the reality that already exists in the infinite field of possibilities. When you pray as I teach you to pray, you do not pray for something to happen. You pray from the reality of it already having happened. You thank the universe, not for what you hope to receive, but for what you already possess in consciousness. You feel the gratitude, the joy, the relief of having received what you desire. And here is the beautiful paradox. The moment you truly feel your desire as already fulfilled, the desire itself disappears. You no longer want it because you have it. You no longer seek it because you are it. You have closed the gap between desire and fulfillment, not by getting what you want, but by becoming what you want. If assumption is the seed, then feeling is the soil in which that seed grows. Without feeling, assumption is merely an intellectual exercise. With feeling, assumption becomes a creative force that reshapes reality itself. Feeling is the secret. These words contain more power than entire libraries of philosophy. Your feeling state is your creative state. Your emotions are not just reactions to circumstances, they are the very forces that create circumstances. I have observed people who intellectually understand these principles, but fail to apply them successfully. They know that assumption creates reality, but they cannot seem to manifest their desires. Why? Because they are missing the crucial element, feeling. They assume with their minds, but not with their hearts. They think the right thoughts, but do not feel the right feelings. The universe does not respond to your thoughts. It responds to your feelings. It responds to your emotional state. It responds to the vibration you emit through your being. When you feel truly abundant, you attract abundance. When you feel genuinely loved, you attract love. When you feel deeply grateful, you attract more reasons to be grateful. But here is where most people stumble. They try to feel good about their current circumstances instead of feeling good about their desired circumstances. They wait for evidence before they allow themselves to feel fulfilled. They make their emotional state dependent on external conditions. This is backwards. This is the thinking of the old world, the world of effect, rather than cause. You do not feel good because good things happen to you. Good things happen to you because you feel good. You do not feel loved because someone loves you. Someone loves you because you feel loved. I remember a woman who came to me broken-hearted. She had been rejected by the man she loved, and she was convinced that she was unlovable. Her heart was closed. Her spirit was crushed, and she radiated the energy of rejection and unworthiness. How can I attract love? She asked me, when I feel so unloved. I said to her, my dear, you have the sequence reversed. You do not wait to feel loved until someone loves you. You feel loved first, and then someone must love you. The universe is a mirror, and it can only reflect back to you what you are already being. She began to practice feeling loved, not because of any external reason, but simply because she chose to feel loved. She imagined herself being cherished, adored, treasured. She felt the warmth of being held, the joy of being chosen, the security of being valued. She did this not once, but daily, until this feeling became her natural state. Within months, not one but several men entered her life, each recognizing in her the very quality she had been cultivating within herself. She had not changed anything external. She had simply changed her internal state, and the external world had no choice but to conform to that change. The goal of all these teachings is to help you live from the end. This means living not from the state of wanting your desire, but from the state of having it. It means not seeking what you wish to be, but being what you wish to be. It means not hoping for a different future, but living from that future now. Living from the end requires a fundamental shift in identity. You must become the version of yourself who naturally possesses what you desire. You must walk as that person, speak as that person, think as that person, feel as that person. When this becomes your natural state, not an act you put on, but the truth of who you are, manifestation is not just possible, it is inevitable. I have observed that people struggle with this concept because they confuse having with getting. They think living from the end means pretending to have what they don't have. But living from the end is not pretense, it is presence. It is being present to the reality that already exists in consciousness. A man who lives from the end of financial abundance does not pretend he has money when he doesn't. He lives from the consciousness of abundance. He feels abundant. He thinks abundant thoughts. He makes abundant choices. He radiates the energy of abundance. And because the universe must mirror consciousness, abundance has no choice but to manifest in his experience. This is the great paradox of creation. You must be it before you can have it. You must become it before you can receive it. You must live from it before you can live in it. The external world is always the effect, never the cause. Consciousness is always the cause, never the effect. I remember a young artist who dreamed of international recognition. She had talent, but she had not yet achieved the success she desired. I taught her to live from the end of already being a celebrated artist. She began to feel the gratitude of having her work displayed in galleries around the world. She imagined the joy of receiving accolades from critics and collectors. She felt the satisfaction of being recognized for her genius. At first, nothing seemed to change in her external circumstances. But gradually, subtly, her world began to shift. She started making different choices. She began to value her work differently. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew her worth. And the world, sensing this change in her, began to respond differently to her. Within 2 years, her work was being shown internationally. Critics were calling her a rising star. Collectors were seeking out her pieces. She had not become successful in order to feel successful. She had felt successful first, and success had followed as naturally as morning follows night. In the process of conscious creation, there comes a moment that is perhaps the most difficult for the human mind to understand and accept, the moment of rest. After you have assumed, after you have felt, after you have lived from the end, you must enter what I call the Sabbath, a state of perfect rest and complete trust. This is the moment when you stop trying to make it happen. This is the moment when you stop looking for signs and searching for evidence. This is the moment when you simply rest in the knowing that it is done. You have planted the seed in the fertile soil of consciousness, and now you must trust that it will grow in its own time and in its own way. This is where most people fail. They assume their desire fulfilled. They feel it as true. They live from the end, and then they immediately begin to worry about how it will manifest. They look for signs of its coming. They become anxious when they don't see immediate results. They dig up the seed to see if it's growing. But the law of manifestation requires a period of gestation. Just as a seed must spend time in the darkness of the soil before it can break through into the light, your assumption must spend time in the darkness of the invisible before it can emerge into the visible. This is not delay. This is the natural rhythm of creation. During this Sabbath period, you must guard your assumption jealously. You must not allow doubt to creep in. You must not allow impatience to disturb your peace. You must not allow the evidence of your senses to contradict the truth of your assumption. You must rest in the certainty that what you have assumed is already true in the only realm that matters, the realm of consciousness. I have seen people manifest their desires in days, and I have seen others take months or even years. The difference is not in the difficulty of the desire, it is in the quality of the Sabbath. Those who manifest quickly are those who enter the Sabbath completely. They assume, they feel, they rest, and they trust. They do not waver. They do not doubt. They do not interfere with the natural process of manifestation. As you practice these teachings, as you begin to live from the consciousness of your desires fulfilled, you will start to notice something magical happening in your world. Synchronicities will multiply. Meaningful coincidences will increase. The right people will appear at the right time. The right opportunities will present themselves. The right resources will become available. These are not accidents. These are not coincidences. These are the universe rearranging itself to match your new assumptions. These are the signs that your consciousness is successfully impressing itself upon the field of infinite possibility. Do not be surprised by these signs. Expect them. Do not be amazed by these synchronicities. Welcome them. But do not make the mistake of becoming so fascinated by the signs that you forget the state. The signs are the effect. The state is the cause. The signs are the shadow. The state is the substance. I remember a woman who was assuming the reality of her perfect marriage. She had been single for years, but she lived from the consciousness of being happily married. She felt the joy of sharing her life with someone who loved and cherished her. She imagined coming home to a loving partner. She felt the warmth of being chosen and valued. As she persisted in this assumption, signs began to appear. She would see couples everywhere, holding hands, laughing together, radiating love. She would overhear conversations about weddings and anniversaries. She would find herself in situations where she was surrounded by happily married people. Some might have seen these as painful reminders of what she didn't have, but she understood them as signs that her assumption was taking root in consciousness. Soon, a friend invited her to a small gathering. There, she met a man who seemed to recognize her instantly. Their conversation flowed effortlessly. Their connection was immediate and profound. Within a year they were married, and she found herself living the exact reality she had been assuming all along. The signs were not random. They were the bridge between her assumption and its manifestation. They were the universe's way of preparing her for the reality she had already claimed in consciousness. The deepest and most profound work of conscious creation is not the manifestation of things, it is the transformation of identity. When you truly understand and apply these teachings, you do not just get different results, you become a different person. You do not just change your circumstances. You change yourself. This transformation is not superficial. It is not merely a change in behavior or attitude. It is a fundamental shift in your understanding of who you are and what you are capable of. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of circumstances. You begin to understand yourself not as a passive observer of life, but as an active participant in the creation of life. This shift in identity is perhaps the most precious gift these teachings can offer. Because once you know who you truly are, once you understand your power, your divinity, your creative authority, you can never again be fooled into believing that you are powerless. You can never again be convinced that you are at the mercy of forces beyond your control. I have watched people undergo this transformation, and it is beautiful to behold. A man who once saw himself as unlucky begins to see himself as blessed. A woman who once believed she was unworthy begins to know herself as precious. A person who once felt powerless begins to recognize their infinite creative potential. This transformation is not immediate. It is a process. It requires patience, persistence, and practice. But every time you successfully assume a new reality and see it manifest, you strengthen your understanding of who you are. Every time you revise your past and see its effects change, you deepen your knowledge of your power. Every time you live from the end and watch the beginning rearrange itself, you confirm your divine nature. The path of conscious creation is not always easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps in. There will be times when the evidence of your senses contradicts your assumptions. There will be periods when it seems like nothing is working, when your desires seem as distant as ever. In these moments, remember that persistence is the price of admission to the kingdom of fulfilled desires. The universe is testing not your worthiness, but your commitment. It is asking not whether you deserve your desires, but whether you are willing to persist in your assumption despite contrary evidence. I have observed that most people give up just before their breakthrough. They assume, they feel, they even begin to see signs, and then they encounter a challenge that seems to contradict their assumption. Instead of persisting, they abandon their assumption and return to their old patterns of thought and feeling. But those who persist, who continue to assume despite contrary evidence, who maintain their feeling states despite challenging circumstances, these are the ones who experience what the world calls miracles. They are the ones who transform their lives completely. They are the ones who prove that the universe will indeed obey consciousness. Persistence does not mean strain or struggle. It means returning again and again to your assumption, to your feeling, to your state of being. It means gently correcting yourself when you slip back into old patterns. It means choosing your desired reality over and over again, regardless of what your senses tell you. But with great power comes great responsibility. When you understand that you are the creator of your experience, you must also accept responsibility for what you have created. This is not a burden, it is a liberation. Because if you created your current reality, you can create a different one. But this responsibility extends beyond yourself. When you know that consciousness creates reality, you become responsible for the consciousness you hold, not just about your own life, but about the world around you. You become responsible for the assumptions you make about others, the judgments you pass, the energy you contribute to the collective human experience. This is why I teach not just the mechanics of manifestation, but the ethics of creation. Use your power wisely. Assume the best for others as well as for yourself. See the world not as it appears, but as it could be. Hold the vision of a world filled with love, abundance, peace, and joy. Your individual consciousness contributes to the collective consciousness of humanity. I have seen people use these teachings to transform not just their own lives, but the lives of everyone around them. A teacher who sees the genius in every student helps those students discover their own brilliance. A parent who assumes the best for their children helps those children become their best selves. A leader who holds the vision of a thriving community helps that community thrive. My dear friends, as we conclude this journey together, I want you to understand one final crucial truth. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something ancient. You are not acquiring a power that is foreign to you. You are reclaiming a power that has always been yours. You are gods. You are creators. You are the artists of your own experience. This is your divine heritage. This is your birthright. This is not fantasy. This is your reality. The universe will obey you because you are the universe. The universe will serve you because you are the universe experiencing itself subjectively. The universe will respond to your consciousness because consciousness is all there is. You have been playing a game of hide and seek with yourself. You have been pretending to be powerless so that you could experience the joy of discovering your power. You have been pretending to be separate so that you could experience the bliss of remembering your unity. You have been pretending to be human so that you could experience the wonder of awakening to your divinity. But the game is over now. The hiding time is finished. It is time to seek and find. It is time to remember who you are, to reclaim your power, to step into your role as the conscious creator of your experience. The universe is waiting. It has always been waiting. It is your faithful servant, your obedient mirror, your loving partner in the dance of creation. Speak to it through your assumptions. Command it through your feelings. Direct it through your consciousness. And watch as it responds with perfect precision to your every instruction. You are not powerless. You are not victims. And you are not at the mercy of circumstances. You never were. You are the creators of circumstances, the authors of your story, the architects of your reality. The begging is over. The pleading is finished. The waiting is done. Go forth and create. The universe will obey you because you are the universe. And the universe always obeys itself. This is your truth, your power, your destiny. Claim it, live it, be it, and watch as the world transforms around you, reflecting back to you the magnificent reality of who you truly are.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to cut through all the confusion, all the complexity, all the mystical nonsense that surrounds the topic of money manifestation. I want to give you the pure, undiluted truth about how to manifest money and how to do it quickly. You've been lied to about money your entire life. You've been told that money requires hard work, sacrifice, and years of grinding effort. You've been told that wealth is for other people, the lucky ones, the connected ones, the talented ones. You've been told to be realistic about your financial expectations. But what if I told you that every single limitation you've accepted about money is nothing more than a belief you inherited from people who didn't understand how reality actually works? What if the reason you haven't manifested the wealth you desire has nothing to do with the economy, your education, your background, or your circumstances? The truth is this: you are living with the most sophisticated wealth creation technology ever designed, and it's been with you since the day you were born. It's your consciousness, your imagination, your ability to assume a state and make it real through the sheer power of persistent feeling. But most people never learn how to use this power. They treat their mind like a broken instrument, letting it play the same old songs of limitation. Money doesn't grow on trees. I can't afford it. Rich people are just lucky. These are not truths. These are permissions you've given reality to keep you poor. Tonight I'm going to teach you how to revoke those permissions. I'm going to show you that your current bank balance is not a fact about your future. It's simply a photograph of your past consciousness. And you can burn that photograph right now and begin creating a masterpiece. And here's what neuroscience now confirms about this difference in thinking. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you imagine financial success with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your brain begins rewiring itself to match that vision. New neural pathways form. Old patterns dissolve. Your entire nervous system reorganizes around your new assumption. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't wishful fantasy. This is the precise mechanism through which consciousness creates physical reality. And once you understand how to use it deliberately, money can flow to you faster than you ever thought possible. When you imagine biting into a lemon, your mouth literally starts to water. When you imagine your financial success with enough detail and emotion, your brain begins rewiring itself to make that vision your reality. This isn't wishful thinking. But here's what most people don't understand. Belief isn't just a casual thought or fleeting wish. It's an unshakable conviction that something is not only possible, but already in the process of becoming your reality. When you truly believe, not hope, not wish, but believe that wealth is your natural state, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself to match that belief. Think about this. Everything you see around you right now, the chair you're sitting in, the building you're in, all of it started as someone's belief. Someone believed it was possible before it existed in the physical world. Your wealth is no different. It exists first in your mind, then in your reality. Right now, you have an invisible thermostat in your mind that's set to your current income level. When opportunities arise to earn more, your internal thermostat kicks in with thoughts like, "This is too good to be true," or "I don't deserve this." It pulls you back to what feels familiar, even if familiar means struggling, but thermostats can be reset. I challenge you to do something radical. For the next 30 seconds, I want you to imagine that you're already living the financial life of your dreams. Don't think about how. Just imagine the feeling. Feel the weight lifted off your shoulders when bills arrive. Feel the confidence of knowing you can handle any financial emergency. Feel the joy of helping others because you have abundance to share. Did you feel that shift, that small flutter of excitement? That's your inner wealth recognizing itself. That feeling is more real than the numbers in your bank account right now. Your belief system is like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is weak, the house will crumble. If your belief in your ability to create wealth is shaky, your financial structure will always be unstable. But when you build an unshakable foundation of belief in your worthiness and capability, you can build any level of wealth on top of it. Learn to use the creative workshop of your mind. Your imagination is not just some frivolous fantasy machine. It's the most powerful creative workshop you possess. Every millionaire, every successful entrepreneur, every person who has ever created significant wealth started in the same place. Their imagination. But here's the key. They didn't just daydream. They created detailed, vivid mental movies of their success. They saw themselves counting specific amounts of money. They felt the texture of crisp bills in their hands. They heard the sounds of prosperity. The conversations with financial advisors. The discussions about investment opportunities. I want you to create your own mental movie right now. See yourself opening your bank statement and feeling pure joy at the numbers. Visualize yourself making a purchase without checking the price first. Picture yourself confidently discussing your latest business venture or investment. Make it so real that your body responds as if it's actually happening. The more detailed and emotionally charged your mental imagery becomes, the more your subconscious mind accepts it as real. And when your subconscious accepts something as real, it begins working around the clock to make it your physical reality. But don't just see the money. See the life it creates. Visualize the freedom to choose where you live based on desire, not necessity. See yourself traveling to places you've only dreamed of, not because you saved for years, but because you can. Picture the confidence that comes with financial security, the way it changes how you walk into a room, how you speak, how you make decisions. Learn to live in the future you've just created. Here's where most people make a critical mistake. They think of their wealth as something that will happen someday. This keeps wealth perpetually in the future, always just out of reach. Instead, you must learn to live in the end result, to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now. Living in the end doesn't mean pretending or lying to yourself about your current circumstances. It means emotionally and mentally inhabiting the reality of already having what you desire. It's about making decisions from the mindset of someone who already has wealth, not someone who's desperately trying to get it. When you live in the end, you stop operating from lack and need. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. You begin to embody the energy of wealth, and that energy becomes a magnet for financial opportunities. Your current circumstances, your job, your bank account, your bills, these are not your reality. They're temporary conditions based on your past thinking. Your true reality is what you're creating right now with your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Don't let temporary conditions dictate your permanent identity. I know this might sound abstract, so let me make it practical. If you are already wealthy, how would you carry yourself? How would you speak? What decisions would you make? What opportunities would you pursue? Start being that person now. Don't wait for the money to show up before you become the person who can handle it. You also need to speak the language of abundance. Words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you're casting a spell of limitation. Every time you say money is tight, you're commanding your reality to squeeze your finances. Your subconscious mind is always listening, and it takes your words as commands. It doesn't judge whether your words are beneficial or harmful. It simply works to make them true. This is why the language you use about money is so crucial. Starting today, I want you to change your language. Instead of I can't afford it, say how can I afford it? Instead of I'm broke, say I'm between fortunes. Instead of money is the root of all evil, say money is a tool for good in the right hands. Instead of rich people are greedy, say wealthy people have the resources to make a difference. But here's the secret that makes affirmations truly powerful. You must feel the truth of what you're saying. Don't just repeat words mechanically. When you affirm money flows to me easily and effortlessly, take a moment to feel what that would be like. When you declare I am financially abundant, connect with the emotion of abundance. Your words must carry the energy of conviction, not desperation. They should come from a place of knowing, not hoping. The universe responds to the energy behind your words, not just the words themselves. You must feel wealthy. Emotion is the fuel that powers manifestation. Without the emotional charge, your desires remain as dormant as seeds without water. When you visualize your wealth, you must feel the emotions that come with it. Feel the relief of financial security. Feel the excitement of unlimited possibilities. Feel the gratitude for abundance. Feel the confidence that comes with knowing you're financially free. These emotions aren't just byproducts of your visualization. They're the driving force that propels your desires into physical reality. The universe responds to your emotional frequency. When you consistently emit the frequency of wealth and abundance, you attract circumstances that match that frequency. Think about it this way. When you're truly excited about something, doesn't it seem like everything aligns to help it happen? When you're passionate and enthusiastic, don't people want to help you? Don't opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere? This is the power of emotional alignment. But here's the challenge. You must feel wealthy regardless of your current circumstances. You can't wait for your bank account to grow before you feel abundant. You must feel abundant first, and then watch as your external reality catches up to your internal state. This isn't about denial or fake it till you make it. This is about recognizing that your emotional state is a choice, and choosing the emotions that serve your highest vision for your life. Also, learn the strategic art of detachment. Here's a paradox that confuses many people. You must be intensely focused on your goal while simultaneously detached from how it will manifest. You must care deeply about the end result while not caring about the specific path to get there. Most people make the mistake of trying to micromanage their manifestation. They become attached to specific methods, timelines, and circumstances. But this attachment creates resistance and anxiety, which actually pushes away what they're trying to attract. True manifestation requires what I call strategic detachment. You hold your vision firmly in your mind. You feel the emotions of already having it. You take inspired action when it presents itself. But you don't try to control every detail of how it unfolds. Think of it like planting a seed. You plant it, water it, make sure it gets sunlight. But you don't dig it up every day to check on its progress. You trust the natural process of growth. Your financial goals work the same way. The universe has access to resources, connections, and opportunities that you don't even know exist. When you try to control exactly how your wealth will come to you, you limit yourself to only what you can imagine. But when you detach from the how and focus on the what and the why, you open yourself to possibilities beyond your current comprehension. This doesn't mean you become passive. Inspired action is still essential. But inspired action comes from a place of excitement and opportunity, not desperation and forcing. When you're truly aligned with your vision, the right actions will feel natural and energizing, not forced and exhausting. The next secret is to use gratitude as a multiplier. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for what you have. Strategic gratitude is about being thankful for what's coming. When you express genuine gratitude for the wealth that's on its way to you, you align yourself with the frequency of receiving. Start each day by saying thank you for the abundance that's flowing into my life today. Feel grateful for opportunities you haven't even discovered yet. Express appreciation for the financial breakthrough that's preparing itself for you. But don't just be grateful for money. Be grateful for your ability to create wealth. Be grateful for your imagination, your creativity, your unique talents and skills. Be grateful for the opportunities that exist in the world today that didn't exist even a few years ago. Be grateful for every small sign of abundance that shows up in your life. When you find a penny on the ground, when someone buys you coffee, when you receive an unexpected discount, acknowledge these as signs that the universe is conspiring to bring you abundance. This isn't delusion. This is preparation. You're preparing your mind to recognize and receive the wealth that's seeking you. Every morning, when you wake up, you have a choice. You can either spend your mental energy focusing on what you lack, or you can invest it in creating what you desire. This choice compounds over time. Imagine two people with identical circumstances. One spends their mental energy worrying about bills, complaining about their situation, and feeling envious of others' success. The other spends their mental energy visualizing their success, planning their moves, and maintaining unwavering faith in their ability to create wealth. After 1 year, these two people will be living completely different realities. Not because of luck, but because of the compound effect of their daily mental choices. Now let's talk about the power of inspired action. Here's where many people get confused. They think manifestation means sitting around waiting for money to fall from the sky. That's not how this works. Manifestation is about aligning your inner world with your desires and then taking inspired action from that aligned state. When you're truly aligned with wealth consciousness, you'll find yourself having conversations you wouldn't normally have, noticing opportunities that were always there but invisible to your scarcity mindset, feeling compelled to learn new skills or explore new ventures, making connections with people who can help accelerate your success, taking risks that your old self would have been too afraid to take. This is inspired action. Action that comes from alignment, not desperation. It feels energizing rather than exhausting, exciting rather than fearful, natural rather than forced. But here's the key. You must be willing to act when inspiration strikes. The universe is constantly sending you signs, opportunities, and impulses toward your wealth. But if you ignore them or make excuses, they'll stop coming. Pay attention to your intuition. When you get an idea for a business, a sudden urge to call someone, or an impulse to attend an event, follow it. These seemingly random impulses might be the universe's way of guiding you toward your financial breakthrough. Here's the final truth I want to leave you with. You already have everything you need to become wealthy. You have a mind that can imagine. You have emotions that can fuel your dreams. You have the ability to speak your desires into existence. You have the power to take action toward your goals. The only thing standing between you and the wealth you desire is your willingness to claim it. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you feel more worthy. Now. Your abundance is waiting. Go claim it. The answer to whether you're ready will determine everything that happens next in your financial life. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Remember, your current situation is not your final destination. You have everything within you right now to create the wealthy life you desire. Trust the process. Take aligned action and watch as your reality transforms to match your vision. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video. Good evening, my friends. Tonight we are going to go deeper than we have ever gone before into the one thing that determines whether your desire manifests or remains forever a fantasy. Tonight I am going to take you into the very heart of manifestation itself. Tonight you are going to understand, truly understand for the first time what it means to feel. You have heard it 1,000 times. Feeling is the secret. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Every teacher says it. Every book repeats it. And yet most of you still do not know what this means. You think you do. You believe you are doing it, but you are not. And that is why your desires remain unfulfilled. Tonight that changes. Tonight I am going to show you what feeling actually is, what it is not, and how to master it so completely that manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Let me start by showing you what you are doing wrong. And I know you are doing it wrong because if you were doing it right, you would already have everything you desire. So let me show you the mistake nearly everyone makes. When I tell you to feel your desire fulfilled, what do? You try to generate an emotion. You try to feel happy. You try to feel excited. You try to feel grateful. You sit there and you work yourself up into an emotional state. And you think, yes, I am feeling it. I am so happy. I am so excited. And you do this for 5 minutes, maybe 10. And then you open your eyes and you go about your day feeling quite proud of yourself for doing the work. And nothing manifests. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and you wonder, but I felt it. I felt so happy when I imagined having my desire. Why is it not here? I will tell you why. Because you were feeling the wrong thing. Happiness is not the feeling. Excitement is not the feeling. Gratitude, joy, relief, peace. None of these emotions are the feeling. These are the effects of the feeling. But they are not the feeling itself. Let me give you an aha moment right now. Stop everything you think you know and listen carefully. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. Let that sink in. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. When I say assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, I do not mean feel happy about your wish being fulfilled. I mean feel yourself to be the person who has your wish fulfilled. Do you see the difference? One is an emotion. The other is an identity. One is a temporary state you can conjure up and then lose 5 minutes later. The other is a fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. Now let me go deeper. Let me show you what this feeling truly is, because until you understand this, you cannot master it. The feeling is the inner knowing that you are something. It is the silent, wordless conviction of being. Think about how you feel yourself to be human right now, not the emotion of being human. The sense of being human. It is not something you have to convince yourself of. It is not something you try to feel. It is simply what you are. You are human. This is not a hope. This is not a belief. This is a knowing so deep, so automatic, so natural that you never question it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I feel happy imagining I am wealthy, but I am wealthy. Not the emotion of wealth, the being of wealth, the identity of wealth, the naturalness of wealth. Let me show you how this works in your current reality. Right now, you feel yourself to be a certain kind of person. Perhaps you feel yourself to be someone who struggles with money. This is not an emotion. You do not wake up every morning and feel sad about money. The feeling is deeper than that. It is the silent assumption running beneath all your thoughts. I am someone who struggles with money. This is your sense of being regarding money. And because you feel yourself to be this, because this is your inner knowing, your world reflects it perfectly. Circumstances arise that match this feeling. Bills come. Expenses appear. Opportunities slip away. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your world must reflect the person you feel yourself to be. When you want to manifest wealth, you cannot simply feel happy about the idea of being wealthy while continuing to feel yourself to be someone who struggles. The happy feeling is temporary. It fades, but the deep feeling of being that persists, and the persistent feeling is what creates. So the question is not, did I feel happy when I visualized? The question is, who do I feel myself to be? Let me take you even deeper now. There are two levels of feeling, and you must understand both. The first level is what I call surface feeling. This is emotion, happiness, excitement, gratitude, relief. These are real. These are valid. These can be part of the experience, but they are not the foundation. They are the decoration on the house, not the house itself. The second level is what I call foundational feeling. This is identity. This is being. This is the deep, silent knowing of what you are. And this is what creates your reality. Most of you are working only with surface feeling. You generate emotions during your practice and think you have done the work. But the moment you stop focusing, the emotion fades and you return to your foundational feeling, which has not changed at all. You still feel yourself to be the person who does not have, who is waiting, who is hoping. And so nothing changes in your outer world because nothing changed in your inner being. But when you shift the foundational feeling, when you change who you feel yourself to be at the deepest level, everything in your outer world must shift to match. This is law. This is absolute. This cannot fail. So how do you shift foundational feeling? How do you change not just what you feel about something, but who you feel yourself to be? That is what I am going to teach you now. The secret to mastering feeling is understanding that feeling is not something you do. Feeling is something you are. You do not do being human. You are human. You do not do having hands. You have hands. The having is natural, automatic, assumed. There is no effort in it. This is what you must achieve with your desire. Not doing the feeling of having it, but being the person who has it. And the difference between doing and being is everything. Let me show you how to move from doing to being. Right now, I want you to think about something you already have. Something simple. Perhaps you have a bed. Perhaps you have a favorite cup. Perhaps you have a particular item of clothing you love. Choose something you have without question. Now, how do you feel about having this thing? Notice that you do not have to generate a feeling. You do not have to convince yourself you have it. You do not have to visualize having it. You simply know you have it. This knowing is so natural, so assumed, so automatic that you never think about it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I am trying to feel like I have wealth, but I have wealth. The knowing is simple, natural, assumed. It requires no effort. It is just what is. But how do you get to this place of natural knowing when your current circumstances scream the opposite? How do you feel yourself to be wealthy when your bank account is empty? How do you feel yourself to be loved when you sleep alone? How do you feel yourself to be healthy when your body is sick? This is where most people give up. They say, but Neville, I cannot feel wealthy when I have no money. I cannot feel loved when I am alone. The circumstances contradict the feeling. And this is where I must wake you up to the truth. The circumstances do not create the feeling. The feeling creates the circumstances. You think you will feel wealthy when you have money. But you will have money when you feel wealthy. You think you will feel loved when someone loves you. But someone will love you when you feel loved. You think you will feel healthy when your body heals. But your body will heal when you feel healthy. The feeling must come first, always. And the feeling is not dependent on circumstances. The feeling is dependent only on your imagination. Now let me teach you how to actually enter the feeling. How to shift from the person you have been feeling yourself to be to the person you desire to feel yourself to be. This is not about emotion. This is not about trying. This is about a gentle shift in awareness. A subtle turning of attention that changes everything. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to feel who you are right now. Not think about who you are. Feel who you are. Notice the silent sense of self that exists beneath all your thoughts. This is you. This is your current sense of being. Now I want you to notice something. This sense of self, this feeling of being who you are, it is not solid. It is not fixed. It is actually quite fluid. You can shift it simply by shifting your awareness. Think about a time in your life when you felt completely different than you do now. Perhaps a time when you felt confident, powerful, certain. For just a moment, remember that version of you, not the circumstances of that time, but the sense of self, the feeling of being that person. Do you notice that just by remembering, just by turning your attention to that version of you, something shifts? You feel different, not dramatically, not with great emotion, but there is a subtle shift in your sense of being. This is what I want you to understand. You can shift who you feel yourself to be simply by shifting your attention. And when you shift who you feel yourself to be, you shift what you create. So here is the practice. When you want to manifest something, do not try to generate emotion about having it. Instead, gently shift your awareness to being the person who has it. How do you do this? You imagine. But not in the way you have been imagining. Not creating a scene and watching yourself in it, but stepping into the scene and being yourself in it. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire wealth. Most of you would visualize money. Perhaps see yourself looking at a bank statement. Maybe imagine yourself buying something expensive. And you would try to feel excited or happy or grateful about this. But this is external. You are watching yourself have wealth. You are feeling emotions about the idea of wealth. But you are not being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine being the wealthy version of you, not doing wealthy things, being the wealthy person. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how does a wealthy person feel about themselves? Not about their money, about themselves. What is their sense of self? What is their internal state? A wealthy person feels secure, not because they have money, but as a fundamental sense of self. Security is who they are. A wealthy person feels free. They feel relaxed. They feel like they have options. They feel like they are enough. They feel valuable. They feel worthy. These are not emotions. These are states of being. And you can enter these states right now without a single dollar in your bank account, simply by shifting your awareness. Try it now. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am secure, I am free, I have options, I am valuable, I am worthy. Not as affirmations you are trying to believe, but as a gentle recognition of a version of you that already exists in imagination. Feel how this version of you moves through the world. Feel how this version of you thinks about money. Feel how this version of you makes decisions. Feel how this version of you speaks to others. You are not trying to convince yourself of anything. You are simply being this version of you. And the more you practice being this version, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more your outer world shifts to match who you are being. Let me show you the crucial difference between trying to feel and actually feeling, because this is where most people get stuck. When you try to feel, there is effort, there is reaching, there is a sense of, I do not have this yet, but I am trying to convince myself I do. This effort itself is the problem, because effort implies lack. You only try to feel what you do not already feel. You only try to be what you are not already being. But when you simply are, there is no effort. There is just a gentle resting in the state. It is like when you sit in a chair. You do not try to sit. You do not convince yourself you are sitting. You simply sit. And the sitting is natural, easy, effortless. This is how feeling your desire fulfilled should be. Natural, easy, effortless. You are simply resting in the state of being the person who has your desire. Here is how you know you are trying versus being. If there is strain, you are trying. If there is peace, you are being. If you are working hard to maintain the feeling, you are trying. If the feeling is simply there, quiet and natural, you are being. Most of you are exhausting yourselves trying to feel. And then you wonder why the feeling does not last. It does not last because you are treating it like a doing instead of a being. You are treating it like an activity you must perform, instead of a state you simply inhabit. Now let me give you another aha moment. You cannot lose a state of being. You can only step out of it. The state is always there. You are simply choosing which state to inhabit with your awareness. Right now, infinite states exist. The state of being wealthy exists. The state of being loved exists. The state of being healthy exists. They are not somewhere in the future. They are here now in consciousness. And you can step into any of them simply by turning your awareness to them. When you lose the feeling, you have not actually lost anything. You have simply shifted your awareness back to the old state. The new state is still there. You have just stopped being it. So mastering the feeling is not about holding on to something. It is about learning to continuously return your awareness to the state you wish to inhabit, over and over, gently, naturally, until being in that state becomes more natural than being in the old state. Now let me give you the test that tells you whether you have truly mastered the feeling or whether you are still just playing with surface emotions. The test is this. Does it feel natural? When you think about your desire, does it feel natural to have it? Not exciting, not thrilling, natural. Like of course you have it. Like it is simply what is. Think about the things you already have. They feel natural. You do not get excited thinking about them. You do not need to convince yourself you have them. You simply know you have them. And the knowing is quiet, calm, natural. This is what your desire must feel like. Not, oh my God, I am so excited, I have this. But of course I have this. This is just how things are. When the desire feels natural, you have mastered the feeling. When it still feels exciting or unbelievable, you are still working with surface emotion, not foundational being. Here is another test. Can you forget about it? Not in the sense of giving up on it, but in the sense of not needing to constantly think about it, or check for it, or monitor it. Things you truly have you can forget about. You do not spend all day thinking about your bed or your shoes or your name. You have them. They are yours. You can forget about them and go about your life. But things you are trying to manifest, you cannot forget about. You obsess over them. You check for them. You wonder when they will arrive. This constant checking is proof that you have not truly felt yourself to be the person who has them. Because the person who has them does not check. They already know. So when you can think about your desire with the same casual naturalness that you think about anything else you possess, you have mastered the feeling. When you can go hours or days without obsessing over whether it is coming, you have mastered the feeling. When the having of it feels so natural that you sometimes forget you once did not have it, you have mastered the feeling. Now let me give you a specific technique for developing this natural feeling, for moving from trying to being, for saturating yourself so completely in the state that it becomes your new normal. I call this saturation because you are going to saturate your consciousness with the state of being the person who has your desire, until that state becomes as natural as breathing. Here is how you do it. You are going to spend one full day, just one day to start, being the person who has your desire, not visualizing about having it, not hoping you will have it, being the person who has it. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are going to move through your day as this person. You are going to think their thoughts. You are going to make their decisions. You are going to respond to situations as they would respond. You are going to inhabit their state of being completely. This does not mean you pretend you see money in your account when you do not. This does not mean you act as if externally. This means you feel yourself to be internally the person who has what you desire, and you let that internal state inform how you move through your day. Let me show you how this works practically. Suppose you desire wealth. For one day, you are going to feel yourself to be a wealthy person, not someone trying to become wealthy, not someone hoping to be wealthy, a wealthy person. When you wake up as a wealthy person. How does a wealthy person feel when they wake up? Probably secure, relaxed, free. Feel this. Not as an emotion you generate, but as a state you inhabit. You are a wealthy person. This is who you are today. When you go about your morning routine, you do so as a wealthy person. You shower as someone who has financial freedom. You dress as someone who feels valuable and worthy. You eat breakfast as someone who knows they have options and resources. Notice I am not saying pretend to be rich. I am saying be the person who feels wealthy. There is a difference. Being wealthy is an internal state. It is a sense of self. It is a feeling of security, freedom, worth. And you can feel this right now regardless of your bank account. Throughout your day, every decision you make it from this state. Every thought you think it from this person. Every interaction you have it as this version of you. And here is what will happen. At first it will feel strange. Your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Old thoughts will come. Old reactions will arise. But each time they do, you simply return to the state. You remind yourself, I am a wealthy person. This is who I am today. And you feel yourself to be that again. Do this for one full day. Not perfectly. You will slip dozens of times, but each time you slip, you return. Gently, without judgment. You just return to being the person, and something remarkable will happen. By the end of that day, the state will feel more natural. The being of it will feel more real. You will have moments where you forget you are practicing, and you simply are this person. This is saturation. You are saturating your consciousness with the new state. And the more you saturate, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more automatically you create from it. Do this for one day, then do it again the next day. Then again and again, until being this person feels more natural than being the old person. Until you are no longer returning to the state because you never left it. This is how you master the feeling. Not through intense visualization sessions, not through emotional manipulation, but through gentle, consistent saturation in the state of being what you desire to be. Let me bring everything together now. With the ultimate truth about feeling, the truth that, when fully understood, makes manifestation effortless. You are not trying to feel your desires fulfilled. You are feeling yourself to be the person whose desires fulfilled. These sound similar, but they are completely different. One is about the desire, the other is about you. One is external, the other is internal. One is temporary, the other is foundational. Your desire is just a reflection of who you feel yourself to be. Wealthy people have wealth, not because they are lucky, but because they feel themselves to be wealthy people. Loved people experience love, not because they found the right person, but because they feel themselves to be lovable. Successful people achieve success, not because they worked harder, but because they feel themselves to be successful. So stop focusing on the desire. Start focusing on who you are being. Stop trying to feel like you have it. Start being the person who has it. And the having will follow automatically, inevitably, because the outer world must reflect the inner being. Tonight you have one assignment. Before you sleep, I want you to answer this question with brutal honesty. Who do I feel myself to be? Not who do you hope to be. Not who do you try to be. Who do you actually genuinely deeply feel yourself to be when no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are not performing or pretending? Write it down. Look at it. This is what you are creating. This is what your world is reflecting. Then ask yourself, who do I want to feel myself to be? Not what do I want to have. Who do I want to be? What kind of person has the life I desire? What is their sense of self? What is their foundational feeling? And then, starting tomorrow, you are going to practice being this person. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consciously, deliberately, persistently. You are going to shift your awareness to this version of you, and you are going to practice being them until being them feels more natural than being who you were. This is the work. This is the practice. This is mastering the feeling. The feeling is not emotion. The feeling is not excitement. The feeling is not trying. The feeling is being. You master the feeling by learning to be the person who has your desire, instead of trying to feel emotions about your desire. You master the feeling by saturating yourself in the state until it becomes natural. You master the feeling by changing your inner conversation until it matches the identity you wish to embody. You master the feeling by making it so natural that you forget you once did not have what you now have. Do this, and everything you desire must manifest. Not because you hoped hard enough, not because you visualized perfectly, but because you became the person to whom these things naturally belong. You are not waiting to have. You are learning to be. And being always precedes having. Master the feeling, and you master your reality. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.